Watching a brother he once fought side by side with collapse right in front of him, the man completely broke down. He never imagined that a single bad decision of his would cost the life of a brother planted deep undercover inside a drug ring. The man's name was Walker. To keep his wife and child from being harassed by debt collectors, he and a few fellow cops decided to take a desperate gamble. They quietly infiltrated a drug den they'd been watching for a long time, planning to steal a shipment of drugs and cash to get themselves out of trouble. But halfway through the operation, footsteps from patrolling dealers suddenly echoed in the distance. Flashlight beams cut through the darkness, slowly closing in on them. In a moment of panic, one of the men struck first, taking down the approaching figure. But when they saw the face clearly, everyone froze. The man on the ground was an undercover cop sent in by the police. Seeing his colleague lying in a pool of blood, Walker reacted instantly and urgently suggested getting him to a hospital. But the next second, a gunshot rang out. Day after day passed, and Walker lived with endless guilt. He even felt he no longer deserved to wear the badge. He shut himself away in the old cabin his father left him, completely cut off from the world. In the end, his wife, unable to take it anymore, chose to leave him. When Walker finally pulled himself together and returned to the precinct, he found himself assigned a new partner. Her name was Ellie. Unlike Walker's worn-down attitude, she was fired up for every single call. That day, while Walker and Ellie were on duty, a call suddenly came in. A gang clash had just erupted at a nearby bar over a drug deal gone wrong. When Walker arrived on scene, he was hit with devastating news. His close friend Cortez had been critically wounded while chasing the suspect. Before he could process the shock, Ellie had already locked onto a suspect on the surveillance footage. But the seasoned Walker shook his head. There were more than a dozen bodies at the scene, all cut down by assault rifles.
Is she supposed to have killed him with a pea shooter? I don't think so.
With that, Walker turned and walked away. Back in the car, Walker's expression suddenly grew grim. He realized this case was never going to be an easy one. Among the dead was a young man named Shu, and his mother was the triad boss, famous for being ruthless and decisive. Not long after, Walker drove straight to the home of mayoral candidate Lawrence. Turns out, he had already recognized someone in the surveillance footage. It was Lawrence's son Charlie. Once he understood what was going on, Lawrence completely panicked. He feared not only for his son's life, but that his entire campaign would be destroyed if the truth came out. He ordered Walker to bring his son back at any cost.
I make one phone call, you and your friends go down for life.
Walker, who was about to refuse, hesitated. He thought about his friend lying in a hospital bed, the one who once stormed a drug lab with him. In the end, Walker accepted Lawrence's deal. The next day, determined to uncover the truth, Walker headed to a Chinatown hideout run by Shu's men. Inside the room, a doctor was preparing to treat the man's wounds. Suddenly, a bodyguard at the door rushed forward and kicked it wide open. Sensing trouble, the man didn't hesitate. He smashed the window and tried to escape from above. Walker reacted instantly, yanking him back from the window. As the only one who escaped the crime scene alive, Walker wanted answers from him. At first, the man stayed tough and refused to talk. Seeing this, Walker pressed his hand straight onto the man's unhealed wound. Overwhelmed by pain, the man finally broke and spilled everything.
What you saying?
You say 3 demons came.
That night, Charlie was in the middle of a drug deal with Chu. Suddenly, 3 men wearing devil masks stormed in. They raised their submachine guns and wiped out everyone in the room in seconds. With new leads in hand, Walker went to the hospital to see his critically injured friend, Cortez. Seeing Cortez barely clinging to life, Walker was pulled back into painful memories. As he stepped out of the room, Vincent and 2 other cops approached him.
We've all done shit for Lawrence, but that don't give his kid a free fucking pass to hurt one of our own.
It turned out the 5 of them were the ones who robbed the drug den together back then. But Walker clearly wanted nothing more to do with them, brushing them off before walking away. Meanwhile, Zhu's mother had arrived from Hong Kong. Standing over her son's cold body in the morgue, she showed no emotion and calmly executed the bodyguard assigned to protect him. She spared only one subordinate, ordering him to uncover the whole truth. Before leaving, she dropped a cold warning. Meanwhile, unable to find his son, Lawrence was stuck on an overpass. Suddenly, 2 motorcycles skidded to a stop right in front of his car. The next second, Triad members appeared, and before Lawrence could react, his bodyguard and secretary were executed on the spot. Just as the woman was about to finish him off, a phone suddenly rang in her pocket. She glanced at it, then casually handed the phone to Lawrence.
I flew halfway across the world to identify my child. Now I'm coming for yours.
The call ended, and Lawrence was dragged away by the group. At the same time, Walker learned the truth. Lawrence's son Charlie had been at the crime scene that night with his girlfriend Mia. Walker rushed to the bar they always went to, and sure enough, he found Mia there. The moment Mia saw Walker, she assumed he was with the masked killers and jumped up trying to run. No matter how Walker tried to explain, she wouldn't believe him. As they struggled, Mia suddenly looked toward the bar entrance, her face turning pale.
That's him.
That's who?
That's the guy that killed Troy.
Walker turned around, his heart sinking. The men walking in were the same 3 cops who had done dirty work with him before. Just as Walker and the 3 cops reached a standoff, another group entered the bar. They were triad hitmen, sent to take Mia. Walker pretended to make a move and subtly signaled one of the cops. Seeing how aggressive they were, he pulled out his badge and walked straight toward them. But they didn't take him seriously at all. The air froze, violence was seconds away. The next second, the bar erupted, tables flipped, fists and gun butts flying everywhere. Thanks to Walker's desperate protection, Mia wasn't hurt. Just as things spiraled out of control, Mia's boyfriend Charlie and her adoptive father arrived. Seeing Mia about to be taken, Walker suddenly raised his gun and pressed it against her head. He warned them coldly. If they didn't come with him now, they'd all end up in triad hands. After escaping immediate danger, Walker led them out through the bar's side door. What he didn't expect was to run straight into backup cops the moment they stepped outside. To avoid trouble, Walker reached for his badge to explain. But the next second, gunfire exploded. Several cops dropped in pools of blood. The situation completely collapsed, leaving Walker no choice but to retreat back into the bar. To buy them time, Mia's adoptive father chose to stay behind. He held off the pursuers with his life and was gunned down. Luckily, they finally shook off the triad. After catching his breath, Walker immediately called Ellie. He told Ellie the truth about the 3 cops.
Vincent, Hayes, Jake, they're all involved, right? Demons and fucking hockey masks.
Then Walker told Ellie to go to the hospital immediately. He was certain Cortez wasn't involved. After hanging up, Walker took Charlie and Mia to the old cabin his father left him. Meanwhile, Ellie arrived at the hospital too late. She could only watch as Cortez's wife was shot dead right in front of her. Facing such brutality, Ellie didn't back down. She stepped forward. Relying on years of experience, she took down every triad operative sent there. Then Ellie had the captured man pose as a drug buyer, luring Vincent out and exposing him as Yu's killer. When Vincent showed up, Ellie raised her gun and ordered them to drop their weapons.
You don't look much like a cop killer.
Hard to tell you're a cop in the dark.
With no choice, Vincent dropped his weapon, and both men were quickly subdued. At the same time, the triad was escorting Lawrence toward Walker's hideout. Elsewhere, Walker put on his vest, preparing to evacuate with Mia and Charlie. But fate gave them no more chances. They were already too late. The triad had completely surrounded the cabin. The next second, gunfire tore through the night. Bullets screamed through the air as a no-escape firefight erupted. But the enemy had overwhelming numbers. As their ammo ran dry, they were forced into brutal close-quarters combat. In the chaos, Mia was dragged away, completely out of control. That single moment of distraction gave his enemy an opening. The assassin lunged, slamming Walker into a cabinet as twisted metal pinned him down, nearly crushing the air from his lungs. The female assassin slowly raised her weapon, ready to finish him. At the edge of death, Walker unleashed his last bit of strength, broke free, and killed her at point-blank range. But the cost was devastating. When the enemy fell, Walker was already covered in wounds, barely able to stand. He collapsed helplessly. The triad boss handed a pistol to Lawrence and ordered him to execute Mia in front of his son Charlie. But Charlie would rather have his father shoot him than let Mia be harmed. The scene instantly descended into chaos. At that moment, Elric arrived with his men. It turned out he wanted to take over the triad, secretly teaming up with Vincent and the others to eliminate thosewho. As the triad completely lost control and turned on itself, another dirty cop beside Vincent raised his gun at Charlie. But instead, the bullet struck the mayor, who had thrown himself in front of his son. Seeing the mayor fall dead, Walker used the last of his strength to raise his gun. He fired repeatedly at Vincent and his crew, plunging the scene into chaos once again. In the confusion, the triad boss was shot down by the traitor. Unwilling to be controlled, Vincent took the opportunity to wipe out the triad traitor himself. Meanwhile, Ellie locked her sights on another corrupt cop. As he looked down to reload, she yanked open the car door. She fired through the window, the bullet hitting its mark. But at the most critical moment, Ellie ran out of ammo. In the split second before disaster, Charlie rushed forward with a gun. Without hesitation, he pulled the trigger, killing the corrupt cop on the spot. At the same time, after killing the triad traitor, Vincent fled with the drugs. Walker chased him relentlessly. The two sprinted along the tracks, locked in a deadly pursuit. Wounded badly in the earlier shootout, Vincent began to stumble. As he tried to leap onto a train that had just started moving, Walker followed close behind, firing repeatedly. Realizing there was nowhere left to run, Vincent finally begged Walker for mercy.
You don't get the fucking backpedal. Not after what you've done. I ain't gonna run no more.
Just as Walker tried to convince him to turn himself in, Vincent suddenly snapped, raised his gun, and shot Walker. That shot finally ignited the rage Walker had been holding back, killing him on the cold steel tracks. Nearby, Ellie could only stand there and watch it all unfold. In his final moments, Vincent finally understood. From the moment the five of them committed that unforgivable crime, they had already lost any chance at redemption. In the end, Charlie drove away with his girlfriend Mia, their car fading into the night. Officer Ellie knew the truth, but chose silence and did not stop them. Walker stood still and calmly spoke to Ellie.
You're a good cop, Ellie. Now you should arrest me.
Sirens wailed in the distance as backup cars arrived. Ellie watched everything unfold and made a promise to Walker. She would personally deliver the Christmas gift Walker had prepared to his daughter, and Walker would ultimately pay the price for everything he had done.